Hi, and welcome to the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the Divine Masculinity episode. I'm Bill Simpson, your host. I coach men who are struggling in relationship, how to communicate effectively, build trust, and deepen intimacy so they can be the best version of themselves in relationship and live the life they love. Recently, my wife shared with me a beautiful letter, or a poem, I guess, entitled In Honor of the Divine Masculine. And if you remember, I did a whole episode on Toxic Masculinity. It was episode 26. And after reading what my wife sent me, I thought it would be a good idea to counter toxic masculinity with divine masculinity and get a little spiritual on you. So I'm going to read the piece first, and then I'll dive a little deeper into divine masculinity. She writes, I believe in sensitive and gentle men, in mystical men who believe in themselves, in men who seek temperance and peace within them, men who are poets, dreamers, wizards, writers, alchemists, artists, teachers, and angels. In men who like to dance and sing and make life a celebration. Men who embrace their injured inner child, listen and embrace the truth, and who want to heal and help others heal. In men who refuse to be slaves to their own wound, and who, despite the pain, clean and heal it patiently with love and courage. In men who come from the stars and remember the power of their wings, the power of their hands, and the power of their hearts. In men who know intuition and use it as their compass, and share freedom because they are free and know no other way to live. I believe in the men protective of female energy, who know how to read the look of their beloved and who do not want to change it. Simply accompany her wisely on her flight. I believe in complete men who don't need anything outside because they already know it's all in. In men who make fire when they're cold, who take refuge in water when they're thirsty. In men with sincere eyes who see themselves, and that's why they love and respect all the creatures that exist on earth. I believe in men, perfectly imperfect, because it is in that imperfection they also find their beauty. Sensitive men who know how to receive and give love in balance, who listen and who also speak, those who live and let them live, and who live sexually as sacred because they know it is a wonderful gift. Men with clear feelings who are accessible, who walk barefoot and talk to plants. In tender and wild men at the same time. In the holy man and in all the divinity they have. Divine masculine, with grace and reverence, I honor all of your being, always sending pure love and light out to the world. Anita Rasul. So pretty deep, huh? Well, for me, it's great to hear this from a woman's perspective. And of course, it doesn't mean all women feel this way or all men aspire to be this way. It's just a different perspective of what masculinity or what divine masculinity means. When I look up the definition of divine masculinity, this is what it says. Divine masculinity refers to an archetype or concept that represents the highest, noblest, and most positive aspects of masculinity. It is a term commonly used in spiritual and metaphysical contexts, often discussed in relation to divine femininity. Now, I just want to say that the idea of divine masculinity can differ from different spiritual or philosophical beliefs, and can be influenced by cultural, societal, or even personal viewpoints. So with that said, here are some general aspects of divine masculinity. First is embracing positive masculine qualities, such as using strength in a positive way. Other positive qualities include being courageous, a leader, protector, focused, resilient, assertive, clear, and determined. Another aspect is being balanced and integrated. And what this means is seeing the importance of having an inner balance. It's understanding that we all have masculine and feminine qualities no matter what our gender or identity. So it's embracing these qualities with confidence to create a sense of wholeness within. Embracing sacredness and honor is another aspect of divine masculinity. When you are living and demonstrating divine masculinity to the fullest, it's really being sacred and honorable, being kind, compassionate to self and to others, treating yourself and others with respect and dignity. Having conscious awareness is a big part of divine masculinity. It's all about self-awareness and personal growth. And it's a lot of what I do as a coach. Helping others have a stronger awareness of themselves and understanding the impact that their behavior has on others. And I do this through mindfulness practices, introspection, and working on raising their emotional IQ. And it's also about them taking responsibility for their actions and growth and being committed to evolve to be the best they can be for themselves and for others. And to bring the focus back to relationships, divine masculinity is all about healthy relationships. It's about creating fulfilling and balanced relationships, like what I talk about on this podcast. Like being vulnerable, having open and mindful communications, recognizing the importance and value of equal partnerships, supporting and collaborating with each other in problem solving, and supporting each other's goals and vision. When I'm thinking about how divine masculinity impacts relationship, I think of Manny and Maya, not their real names. Manny came from a Latino family with a strong Catholic background. He was raised by loving, strict, yet fair parents. His father modeled a strong authoritarian approach to parenting. Do as I say kind of approach. He was the man of the house. And he would also use religion to make his points. His father rarely showed his emotions except when he was angry. And his mother, on the other hand, was nurturing and yet more passive, especially when she was around Manny's father. So fast forward to Manny's adult life, he pretty much embraced the masculinity his father modeled when he was a child. Yet there was something inside of him that didn't feel quite right. Like he would act that way because he was supposed to, not what he truly felt inside. Well, eventually, Manny met Maya. They fell in love, they got married, and began raising their family. Well, over time, Manny and Maya started having arguments. And Maya would push back when Manny would try to be the man of the house, and have everything his way. And on the inside, Manny hated himself for being that way, but couldn't articulate that to Maya. Instead, he would get defensive, which only drove a wedge between them. One day, Manny had a moment of insight when he came across the concept of divine masculinity while scrolling on Facebook. And as a lifelong Catholic and deeply spiritual person, it caught his eye. He was intrigued and realized that there had to be a better way. And he ended up reaching out to me for some coaching. And he told me that he had been reading about divine masculinity and wanted to know more about it. Well, even though I don't market divine masculinity per se in my coaching practice, a lot of what I offer can go under the umbrella of divine masculinity. So it was a natural progression, and it was a great place for us to start. So Manny told me about how he was raised and the conflict he felt inside when trying to model the behavior of his father. So we started with him having compassion for the part of him that was conflicted inside, and came to terms of what he really wanted to be, what his higher self was calling for him to be. We talked about embracing the positive aspects of his masculinity and recognizing his sensitive side and how to create a balance of the two. We talked about how to be open with Maya about how he felt and what he was going through. And this was huge for Manny, and for Maya too, because this is what Maya wanted from Manny all along. She saw the strength it took for Manny to talk about it, and she felt so much closer to him and a lot safer in the relationship. Well, from that point on, Manny was committed to doing whatever it takes to maintain the concept of divine masculinity that I described earlier. Taking on the qualities of balance, strength, vulnerability, honor, and personal and spiritual growth. And through this commitment, he was able to find a deeper connection within himself and for the woman he loved, and for his family, friends, and his community. Now, this was a rare case of an amazing transformation from a somewhat toxic approach to masculinity to a divine approach to masculinity, allowing Manny to live the life he loves. Here's a quote I found from an unknown source that sums it all up. It says, quote, "Divine masculinity is rooted in strength of character, integrity, and the willingness to take responsibility for one's actions and growth. True masculinity is not about suppressing femininity, but rather integrating both energies harmoniously to create a balanced and loving relationship." Can I get an amen? Yeah. And that will do it for this episode of the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the Divine Masculine episode. I'm Bill Simpson, your host. Thank you so much for listening and keeping an open mind. So here's a question for you. Is fear or anxiety about relationships keeping you from being the best you in relationship? And I know, as a man, it might be hard to admit, right? Well, if fear or anxiety is getting in the way, you're not alone. It's probably much more common than you think. Please join me for the next episode of the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the Relationship Anxiety episode. And remember, if you have any questions or issues about your relationship you need help with, topics you'd like for me to cover on the podcast, or feedback about the podcast, please email me at bill@pathways2livingwell.com. That's bill@pathways2livingwell.com. You can also find my email address in the show notes. And if you know someone who you think might benefit from listening to this podcast, please share the link and share the love. And until next time, keep your heart open and stay on the path to love.